Wow, there was a lot of movies last year in 2024 that you should have watched. And so I picked a bunch that I think you should check out that maybe a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about and maybe you didn't hear about. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we are going to be doing 10 films that you should have watched in 2024. These are movies that, why the hell didn't you watch it, you piece of shit? Should you find these movies to be not on your list, that's not a bad thing. I tried to pick movies that aren't necessarily on everybody else's list. Some of them were, some of them weren't. These are just ones that I think you should watch, regardless of where they fit, because I'm putting these in no particular order. These are just 10 films that you should watch and that you might enjoy. And the reason I'm doing this is because you guys enjoyed my top 10 list, and I said that if I got 100 likes at least on it, then I would do this video. So here I am in a brand new studio, sort of. I got like a whole new setup here. I know you guys might have seen my post on YouTube about the camera and the computer not working. Well, I salvaged the camera, but on a different system. It doesn't work on my old computer. So I found a way around it, and I'm bringing you content as promised. So let's get into it. First up, we have Smile 2. This one's about a pop star named Sky Riley who's getting ready to go on tour, who's freshly out of an addicted situation where she was locked up for doing too many drugs, and suddenly she is experiencing increasingly terrifying, unexplainable phenomena as she starts to find out how this connects to her past and so much more. Director Parker Finn is back to do the sequel on this one. It is by far a very different film from the first one, and so I understand when people say, you know what, this just wasn't for me. A lot of people are saying, oh, the first one's like Alien, it's really intense, and the second one's like Aliens because it's all over the place crazy. But I think they're both really good at what they do. They're just different tastes, different people. The curse, so to speak, in the first film was something that I was focused on too much of a lot of movies in the past that have done curses, and this one kind of did things differently than I had seen in a curse movie, and so I didn't give it the credit it was deserved. And when I watched it for the second time, man, my interest went through the roof. I really enjoyed the first one. So I was very excited to see the second one, and even though it's a different flavor, I think both of these films are stellar. I think this is one of the best new franchises out there, and I'm really excited to see if they ever do a third one. So fingers crossed. I really enjoyed Smile 2. If you didn't like the first one so much, give it a rewatch and then check this one out. You can watch it on Paramount Plus, this one, so give it a whirl. Also, if you want to wish list this or buy it on 4K or Blu-ray, I put a link down below for you to wish list or buy it. So check those out for each of the movies that have releases. Next, we got Cuckoo. Cuckoo! About a young girl, a 17-year-old girl who is forced to move in with her family to another country, a resort that's run by this guy. Things are not exactly what they seem, for a kid especially, but there is something extra special going on here that really bends the genre. It kind of mixes a lot into one movie and changes drastically halfway through the film. And a lot of people didn't like it because of that, but I really found it really enjoyable. And I don't mind seeing mishmash different styles and different genres mixed into a movie like that. It is a little bit of a different film. It's a mainstream film that it was done from an artist perspective. The director, Tillman Singer, did a movie called Loose, and it was like really trippy, art housey kind of stuff. Very minimalistic, very interesting, very super suspenseful, but not for everybody. This one's much easier to swallow. It's bizarre, it's weird, I've never seen a story like it, and the acting and the situations are just fun to watch. This movie has a lot to it. There is a lot of music that I really enjoyed in the movie, a lot of really great performances. It's just one of those weird movies that sticks out. And if you want to check it out again for yourself, maybe you didn't like it the first time, you can rewatch it on Hulu now or links down below. I say give it a whirl again if you didn't like it the first time, because you might like it. I watched it 2 times or maybe 3 times, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Up next, we have Terrifier 3. Holy shit. Alex liked the Terrifier film? I'm blown away. Come on, guys. It's not that bad. So first of all, I have never been a fan of the first one. I admired the performance of Art. You know, Howard Thornton is just really good as Art, and it's almost impossible for you not to see that in any of his films, whether they're, you know, favorites or not. The sequel of this movie, I did like a little bit more. I didn't like a lot of the story elements. I felt like it kind of borrowed a little too heavily from Nightmare on Elm Street in some regards. Even if I love that franchise and I like that they put some of those like weird, trippy, dreamy segments in that film, this one feels like it's fully fleshed out. Like the story is much better to me, much more consistency on all of the aspects, and it feels fully realized as a Terrifier film. You know, to me, it's not just about art and gore. Sure, a gore film, but I also want a story to take me there as well. And it doesn't always have to be the best story, which this isn't the most amazing, but it definitely makes a lot more sense, and it definitely connects a lot of elements that were in the second one to the third one, and I think it does a really good job of mixing Christmas with Halloween. Like, what the hell? But I was cheering for this movie, unlike the second one. But I will say, one of the best kills is still in part 2, and it's the bedroom scene, and you know what I'm talking about. You can rent this one right now if you want to check it out. The other 2, I think, are on other platforms, but this one's out for rent right now, and you can pick it up on Blu-ray or 4K if you want to wish list it down below. Up next, we got Krazy House, which is a movie that a lot of people didn't really like too much, and I get a lot of shit for, but I don't really care what anybody thinks. This is a movie that was set in the 1990s. It's about this guy who is a religious man and his family. They are living in a world that is very much akin to the same set and design as Married with Children, only their religious parents, one's a guy that stays at home and takes care of the house. He's kind of an idiot. And his wife, played by Alicia Silverstone, is the working lady who is doing all the work, and she's a really successful businesswoman. And they have 2 kids, and they get some help from some Russian guys who start tearing apart their house for some reason, and they don't know why. And things go from 1990 sitcom to really funny, really dark, action-packed, and extremely sacrilegious. So if you are at the any bit bothered by something like that, I would highly recommend not watching it. But if it doesn't bother you, you'll be all right. But man, did I have a really good time by the end of the movie. It took me a while to get used to what was going on, and it's by the directors who did New Kids Nitro and New Kids Turbo. It's Stefan Hars, who just did that movie Getaway with Nick Frost, by the way, and Flip Vanderkuil, who also worked on other films with him. Not Getaway, though. But yeah, I really liked it. Their humor is a little different, and sometimes not everybody gets it, but I really like this one. I say check it out if you can. It's up for rent. You can wait till it gets to streaming if you really want, because it might be up in the air if you like it. But I say watch it. Next, we got Lowlifes. This was an earlier film in the year that was like one of my favorite films of the year on Tubi. It's like one of the first films that I think Tubi really snatched up a winner on, one of the bigger ones. They've put out some other really good films that I liked, but this is one of the best, and I'm sure we're going to see more and more as time goes on Tubi, because it's just a big platform, and they're able to afford more and more movies as it goes on. This one's essentially about a family that is on a trip, on a vacation, and they get stopped and harassed by some locals, not too sure about them, and they invite them to their house because their car breaks down. Suddenly things get pretty crazy pretty quickly, and you are thrust into a situation that might surprise you by the end of the movie. And that's all I really can say about it. This one's gory, it's violent, it's got some crazy scenes in it. You know, it's not as exactly a serious movie. It's a comedy, you know, but it really does things very well, and it was a nice surprise at the earlier part of the year. This is by directors Tesh Gutakonda, who actually was the writer of Influencer, which was another film from the year before that was pretty decent, and Mitch Oliver, which is his first feature film. But you can check it out right now on Tubi, and I highly recommend it because this is a very underrated film that should have been on a lot more lists, and I did see him on a few, so it felt good to see that. This one's going to be hard to see, and I'm sorry, I have to bring it up because I need to bring attention to it, and they should be getting distribution. I don't know where it stands at yet. Maybe I'll contact the director and see what's going on and let you guys know when it's getting ready to come out so that you can check it out for yourself. But this one's called Bark, and it's about a man who is literally tied to a tree in the forest, and he wakes up, and you and he are not exactly sure what has happened. He's stuck there. There's no way out of it, and he is doing everything he can to survive, drink water, stay alive. And suddenly a person comes out of the woods that sees him, but doesn't want to untie him. So this character, Nolan, is struggling to escape while he's got this guy who he thinks is tied with it, and you're not really sure what's going on. And for a movie that is done in literally one location for the most part, they do a lot in this movie, and it's very creative, very suspenseful. By the end of the movie, it's going to surprise you in ways that you are not sure how you feel. I think it does a really good job of surprising and doing everything up until that point. And it's by director Mark Scholerman, who I think did a fantastic job in this movie. I always admire movies that do so much with so little in one location. It's hard to keep the interest of the viewer, and he did it, and he did it suspensefully and very well done. And I hope that you guys get to see it soon. It is not out. Don't be mad at me. I gotta tell you about these goodies when they come, because what are you gonna do when it finally comes up? You might not even think to look for it. So keep your eyes out for Bark. Next we have bam, The Last Video Store. And I'll tell you what, this was actually a lot of fun. Now, this was given to me by Resolution. Thank you so much, buddy, for getting this out to me. This is one that was on my list that I hadn't seen yet, and I wanted to see it. I think it was at one of the festivals I was at, but I didn't get a chance to see it. And now it's out for rent, and you can pick it up on Blu-ray, which it has a ton of extras that I did a video on. Man, I really enjoyed this movie. If you're a horror fan and you like collecting horror films, or just the process of going to a store to find a movie, or just finding someone that can tell you what kind of movies to watch, and you enjoy that kind of thing, it's definitely going to hit a little bit of a heartstring with you. This was essentially about a young woman who is taking some tapes that she found at her now deceased father's house that need to be returned. He even left a note saying, return these tapes to the video store. It's the last video store. And she doesn't know what VHS are. She barely knew her father, and she doesn't know what these tapes are. So she takes the tapes back. She meets the owner of the store named Kevin, and suddenly she pulls out a cursed tape that has been lost for years. It's kind of a Necronomicon of VHS tapes. And he puts it in, they play it, and the TV comes to life and starts spitting out live, real life people from the movies that she returned. A lot of fun, a lot of comedy, a lot of practical effect, gore, and everything in this movie. It's a lot of fun, and there's so much heart put into it. I just really had a really good time with it. Definitely give this one a watch. This is by his buddies, who he's been making films with, by the way, Kevin, Cody Kennedy, and Tim Rutherford, who have done a lot of different shorts based around this video store, and you should check them out. Some of them are on here. They did a whole TV show that was on air in the local area that they're from in Edmonton, Canada. So it's worth a watch. I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. And rent it or pick up a copy, and I'll put a link down below for you to wishlist it. Up next, we have Abruptio, which I did a video on this. This was sent out to me by MVD Entertainment. It's actually part of Anchor Bay's newest films that they've been releasing. They got picked up by another company and now are putting out films again, and they're doing some pretty cool ones, let me tell you. Abruptio is a puppet movie that is based about this guy named Les Hackle. And these are life-size puppets in some instances and small puppets in other instances. Full-on puppets. But Les Hackle is a guy who's not a really great guy. He's kind of down on his luck. One day he wakes to find that an explosive device has been put in the back of his neck, and if he doesn't follow the orders off the phone, well, they're gonna blow his head off. And boy, does he do some pretty crazy things that phone asks him to do. And he gets himself into some pretty wild situations where he meets a lot of people in the same situation or not, and he has to do some pretty heinous, dark, messed up things. And let me tell you, man, it's dark. Funny too at times, and the end of the movie may make it or break it for some people, but I personally enjoyed it. It made sense, and it was one of the more memorable films last year that you should have watched. It is now available for rent. I think you can go on Amazon and rent it for like $2.99, and you can also pick up a copy, which I'll put a link down below. I say check it out. I think it's worth a watch. Up next, we have Infested, which was a movie that was on Shudder, and it was actually at the festivals that everybody was raving about because this is one of the movies that Sam Raimi and company, all the Evil Dead guys, want to have to direct a new Evil Dead movie. And the reason why is because of this film. This is a movie about a bunch of residents that live in a rundown apartment building, and they end up having to battle against an army of deadly, rapidly reproducing spiders that will kill you very fast and disgusting, let me tell you. This kid that's in this apartment complex gets this very rare spider, and somehow it gets out, but it's kind of like uber smart, and it starts reproducing, and there are spiders fucking everywhere, guys. This is by director Sebastian Vanasek, like I said, who will be doing the next Evil Dead movie. He's one of the two directors that'll be doing one. I don't remember which one that is, but I'm looking forward to it because the way that this was shot, the suspense, spiders and everything in this really tripped me out. There's a lot of moments in this film with a lot of really great camera work, and I think that's pretty much what grabbed Sam Raimi. Plus, you know, his direction with the characters I did enjoy as well. But anyway, you can check this one out on Shudder, and I would highly recommend you do so if you haven't already. Last but not least, we have Frankie Freako, which is a Steven Kostanski movie. The guy who did Psycho Gorman, should I say anymore, has done a lot of really bizarre films, you know, and worked on a lot of different stuff I've been a fan of for a long time. He did The Void, Astron 6, and all those different movies. He's done practical effects in a lot of movies that you've watched. I just really look forward to his films, and I got this sent out by Raven's Banner, who, shout out, by the way, I think put out one of the best of the two, because Shout Factory also put this out, but this one has extras, which you can watch the review of it here. This is about a guy named Connor who's kind of like a yuppie, too good, you know, nice guy. One night decides to call a hotline. These are hotlines that when I was younger, we would call for fun to kind of like call Freddy Krueger, you know, or something like that. And it's this guy he calls called Frankie Freako, who promises to make him have a party life because it's so boring. He comes through the phone, and sure enough, they have a party that he can barely remember the next night, where puppets come out of the fucking woodwork. And it's weird, it's bizarre. There's not many movies like it, and sure, maybe it's not for everybody, but I actually really thought it was fun and interesting and kind of nostalgic in that sort of 90s way. Pretty funny moments in the film, and it really goes to some places that I was not expecting. This one's extremely silly, ridiculous, all over the place, but just a weird, fun time that you'll never really experience, I think, anywhere else. So it is what it is. If you want to check it out, it's up on streaming for rent, and you can pick up a copy like I did for a link down below. But yeah, guys, that's just 10 of the picks that I had. I had so many movies in a list that I had to adjust to try to see where they all fit. Again, those were in no particular order, and I could probably do 10 more if you really wanted me to. But yeah, let me know what you think about these films down below. Like I said, these aren't all going to be for everybody. These are just ones that resonated with me. So hopefully, you know, you can check them out if you haven't seen them, or at least give them a shot if you didn't want to the first time. But let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.